Welcome to Guys, a podcast about guys. I am Bryan, and with me is my co-host, a real wet rag, Chris James.
Oh, I hate when the thing that I don't understand, the new word you picked up, is like so insulting sounding. Like again, that's obviously from Rockabilly culture, but it just makes me sound like a real piece of shit.
Well, it is. You're a boring wet rag. And with me is a guy that I love, that I've done plenty of shows with, the only other Doors fan on the internet, Chantilly Brace Belden. What's up, Brace?
Oh, let me hold on. Let me get into the mode. Oh, I'm a Rockabilly daddy, and I'm here with you. No, wait. I got it.
Okay.
One more time.
Okay.
Hello, baby. Oh, wait. Fuck. I'm a rockin' Billy daddy, and I'm here to say I'm a rockin' Billy daddy. Let's start the show today.
So
yeah. No, I don't know about like iambic pentameter or any of that, but if I could just speak in a rhyme, like the only way I can express ideas now is through that form of lyricism and that verse structure.
Well, you are, I'll say it helps. People can't see, but you are dressed the part as well. You are you've got a real Rockabilly look. You're probably the first guest that has showed up with some attire to match I appreciate that professionalism for real.
Nobody does it Brace is probably the first guest we've had that has been in contact with the people we're talking about like a lot. You know what I mean?
I've been at the car hops. I've been at the drive-ins.
Okay, so these are all. I don't know a lot about it. This whole stuff. There's a lot. It sounds like a lot of throwback stuff.
Well, let me be clear here. I'm not Rockabilly.
No.
And I have a lot to say about Rockabillys, but I've never been. Let me just say, if Rockabilly was a really long wallet chain, which I feel like there's a lot of wallet chains in the subjects you guys covered already. That's like a through line of many subjects in this podcast. Yeah. But if Rockabilly was a long wallet chain, I'm just like, compared to that, I'm whatever a Ridge wallet is.
Oh God, am I? Yeah. And I hate Ridge wallets.
I've never partook.
I have one. Well, but you were around the punk scene a lot.
Yeah.
And that seems like where a lot of these, they call it the punk guy retirement plan.
Yeah.
That's what they call Rockabilly. Mm-hmm. So I imagine you've been in contact with these guys and had to deal with them.
My whole life, I've seen them. Listen, it's like, since I was a child, I have seen guys in like kind of cabbie hats, a corpulent torso that is sort of sheathed in a vest of either denim or leather with look, we can kind of get more into the details further on.
This is starting to paint a picture for me. I appreciate this because I'm starting to understand this guy a little bit better now.
Big, stiff, dark blue jeans and like some chunky fucking boots and some maybe we're rocking with the wallet chain. We might have some fuzzy dice. To me, it's like a whole. There's a whole ecosystem of like it's the 50s by way of the 90s.
Now, okay, that sounds horrible. Now, it does. Is this a comment? So, for the question for both of you, that people are still. This isn't just old guys that are doing this who are like. This isn't people who are actually around in that era.
They have passed.
The originals have passed.
Okay. Long past.
But they potentially maybe passed it on to their children or if they picked it up on their own. Oh, okay. There's a little bit. So
my daughter sent me a picture. My daughter does I'll tell Brace, my daughter does the research on Facebook, so I don't have to go on there.
There you go.
And the other day she sends me a picture and it just says poor freaking kid. And it's from the Facebook group Rockabilly Worldwide. And the guy goes, my little Rockabilly teddy boy in the making. This kid at 5 knows more about original rock than 95% of the shit millennials out there these days. And the kid has a pompadour. I feel so incredibly bad for the kid.
Yes.
Pompadour's a haircut, right? That classic, like sort of,
It's like
from Grease, from like the
it's
movie.
from Grease.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
It's the
okay.
classic sort of rockabilly 50s haircut where it's like slick back but tall. Guys, like, here's the thing. Rockabilly is known quite fairly as being sort of the territory of the white man.
Oh yeah.
But there's a few things that inject a little soul into it. And one of those is it's one of the few subcultures, aside from, of course, the classic Mohawk punk, one of the few white subcultures where guys are trying to make their hair as tall as possible.
Yes.
So, like, because black guys can have the afro, or black people can have the afro. But like, if you're like a half Italian, half Irish guy from Indianapolis who just, you want to race in the slot cars and everything, you're a grease monkey or whatever their job. That's what their job is, grease monkey.
Mhm.
You need to have your hair tall because you also need to show your fealty to the roots of rock and roll.
Yeah.
And because you completely emulate the music that was like at that point there was still a lot of black dudes playing rock and roll, but you're also there's some racial subtext in the counterculture.
Do they love Elvis? Do they love Elvis?
Love
God,
Elvis.
Oh, okay.
Do they love Elvis?
Okay.
Like nobody's business.
Do they love Elvis?
They love Elvis. Okay.
Well, I have a thing from the Rockabilly subreddit that I really liked. I didn't know if I was going to find something funny. But I did. And this is from our Rockabilly. And the question is, how did you transition from normal to Rockabilly?
Oh, that's a very cool question. Now,
I spent 3 years on TNT.
I mean, yeah. So I guess asking did you just go straight up, just like, boom, you got into it? But that is, listen, we laugh at the question, but yeah, it's like, hey, I'm an adult. I want to get into Rockabilly. You judge me all you want, but that's my decision I'm making. How do I do it? Do I slowly sort of ease in, start picking up a few of the pieces of clothing, or do I just get the whole outfit right away? And yeah, I'd need to know how to start.
The person says a few months back, I decided to drastically change the way I dress and go from Rockabilly every now and then to full out Rockabilly style as often as I can. There's been a few comments, almost 100% positive, but aside from, wow, when did you start doing this? No one's really said anything. So how did you transition to Rockabilly? Fast, slow? Was it always part of your life in some way? Or is it something you've discovered as you've gotten older? So this guy's coming out to the people around him
as a Rockabilly person, and he wants more people to be like outwardly excited about it. Like they're just saying like, hey, when did you start doing that? Like, which is a normal human response to someone changing their style. If he wants people to be like, this is fucking epic, this is awesome, I want to get into, like, he wants people really excited for him, which he's not getting.
He's got the rock and dysphoria and the gender wender blues.
That's
it is funny to think of like these are guys that 100% think that what they're doing makes them really hot. And it's like,
it's an aesthetic. It's a huge aesthetic thing. So it's all about how you're presenting yourself out in public. And it is in a very classically big and aggressively, like a peacocking kind of way. That makes total sense. Yeah.
Guys that work at there's two jobs. I think me and Bryson talked about this. There's two jobs. There's barbershop.
Yep.
And there is guy that works on cars and motorcycles, but doesn't work on would never work on a Prius. They're working on classic.
I see. They're only working 70s or 80 or below, nothing.
a big wrench. Yeah, that's so to paint you a picture of the average Rockabilly, right? We're gonna get a guy, because I'm literally just picturing a Rockabilly guy I know, 45 years old, a pompadour made up of some of the thinnest hair that you could possibly ever assemble on the top of a motherfucking dome. Little sideburn, little lightning bolts of sideburn. Not actually in the lightning, but little juts of sideburn right there.
Yeah.
We're talking probably maybe a plain white tee. But realistically, probably a somewhat faded, demented Argo t-shirt.
Possibly rolled up sleeves, rolled up, maybe.
God, yes.
Oh, maybe. Possibly the sleeves rolled up. If he's really going for the vintage look, he's got a pack of them Marlboro Reds.
Yeah, he's got the smokes
rocking in there.
Yeah.
He has got a veritable pornographic magazine's worth of naked women tattooed on his arms.
Yes. Huge thing.
This is blowing my mind right now, and I'm going to tell you why it's blowing my mind so much when you're finished. I'll wait till the end, but please.
Down to the crotchal area, we are observing now a belt buckle. Doesn't really matter what it is. Probably an eagle, possibly though, although this might have gone out of style post Charlottesville, an Iron Cross. But not in the most ignorant of history. Like they wouldn't even be able to tell you what that is
it's
from.
Not a political statement.
It might accidentally be, but it is not an on purpose political statement. Yeah. Some of the like I said, stiffest blue jeans you could ever, like things that like if you took them off of him, which rarely happens, but if you took them off of him, could stand up straight on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are getting down to the feet, and we are rocking the kicks we are rocking with in the parlance of today. Are either, do you know what creepers are?
No, I mean
like two-tone, because there's I read about two-tone shoes, and then I saw the word creepers. I didn't know what they were.
So creepers are shared amongst all kind of like I would say like sub-punk loser subcultures. So like they're really big in ska, and they're really big in like the swing revival movement. They're really big. Kind of everything that got big in the 90s. Precisely, yes. So down at the feet of the Rockabilly gentleman, we are looking at a pair of probably fairly loud creepers.
So they're like dress shoes. They're like dress shoes, but they're like leather dress shoes with the white and the black.
They're thick-soled. They're thick-soled.
Yeah.
And often felt on the sort of where the laces are. And the classic is, of course, the leopard print there. On his arm, underneath his outstretched arm, is his girlfriend. They are all married. I hate to say this, but they are all married.
So they're okay. They're okay as they're able to find partners.
A lot of Rockabilly women, like maybe more than men. Really.
Yes.
I see. So the community's filled, so they're able to pair off with each other quite easily.
Some
of our communities have an issue with that.
No, absolutely no. These guys are married, so women love this. So the woman is, first of all, her job. He's a grease monkey. Or he works at any number of, the guy either works at a barbershop or any job with like a fancy apron. So he could be a butcher, tattoo shop, kind of anything where you can have like a bespoke old timey apron.
Yeah, he could be a butcher.
100%. He has those like 4 jobs he can choose from. Unfortunately, she can only have one job, and that job is vintage reseller. So she has an Etsy store, most likely, possibly a shop if she's more advanced, and wears kind of like a big red dress, has tattoos of a pair of old-timey Sailor Jerry, or a tattoo of a pair of cherries on her ankle, and possibly some.
So she goes thrifting a lot. Like she spends most of her day thrifting and then sells it at Etsy shop or whatever, then if that business takes off, maybe gets a storefront going. But that's tough because doesn't seem fair because the men get the choice of 3 jobs in the Rockabilly community.
That's true. But really, all of the apron jobs are the same job. It's the same, it's the same
you're
job.
You're chopping something up.
Exactly.
Whether it's hair or meat or whatever. But you know why that blew my mind when you were describing Rockabilly guy physically is because I mentioned this on Twitter, and to Bryan, is that my old barber is the only Rockabilly guy that I know.
There you go,
and the description you just gave was, you could have actually been describing him on any given day that I saw him.
Yes.
Dress, hair, tattoos, all of it. He had all of the stuff you described. Is actually quite unbelievable. It is really, there's not a lot of variety in the aesthetic, is there? There's a little bit, for creativity, but it's pretty uniform.
Let me throw a little something in here for you guys. This is a good question that was asked, and it's something we can all reckon with here. And it says, Rockabilly when you have no hair. Sadly,
this is like one of life's big.
Oh no!
Because listen, I mean, hey Brian, I have I have hair, but my hair's I couldn't do I'd have to be doing the thing that Brace was describing, where I'd have to be like carefully if I wanted to get a big pompadour, it wouldn't be. So this is a huge question in the world.
Yeah. Sadly, the time has come when I can no longer pretend I have a decent amount of hair on my head, and I've gone for a buzz cut. I can't be the only one out there with without the ability to have a proper rockabilly haircut.
Oh no, I just realized something.
What?
If you got the rockabilly aesthetic and you shave your head, you're a skinhead now.
It can't be that.
There's
Like
there's some crossover we can get to.
It looks you could come across that way to people.
Because I'm wondering what other people do in this situation. Hats? If so, what? With a leather jacket on, I do end up looking like I'm in Judas Priest. That's probably a nightmare for these guys. I've tried to look up some pictures, but all I can seem to get to come up on Google are pictures of John Travolta with no hair.
Yep.
I see. Because
Labadab Hussein did say, "Time to join the dark side." Psychobilly, plenty of bald psychobillies. So
psychobilly is like when you're a rockabilly guy, but you get so mad from balding that you go psycho.
Chris.
Okay, so
imagine this. It's 1998, right? You've been stray cat strutting all over the motherfucking city, right?
Okay.
You got a pompadour mile high. It's like a top hat on top of your fucking head.
It's incredible.
But sometimes you're like, oh man, all this talk about cars and girls in the 50s, like, but I got a little more of a dark side to me. Maybe even look at like, oh, this Nick Cave guy's got a little darkness in him.
Shit, maybe I consider myself a bit of a bad seed.
One of the biggest dorks in the 20th century. I would say Western civilization's greatest dork outside of Himmler. My God. I mean, he's got some tracks, but
he can make music.
But it's embarrassing if you really get down to it. I mean, I like some of it, but it's so this is. Are you familiar with the Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds album, Murder Ballads?
I don't know that I'm familiar. I'm familiar with some of the music,
That's
but
like
I don't know that I could.
Biggest hits.
Okay, so I would know. I would know some of the songs.
You would know some of the songs. It's like that sort of like corny 90s darkness mixed with, of course, the rock and twang of rockabilly. And so it's like imagine if instead of we sang about Make Out Point, we sang about the Boneyard.
So it's like almost like the Monster Mash.
It is exactly like the Monster Mash.
Okay.
Yes, that is precisely true. Psychobilly, of course, was always I've never met a psychobilly. I've seen them. I've observed them in the wild.
So people you don't usually meet them. They're not really sociable.
They're kind of more Elvira. So like the guy looks the exact same, except maybe he's got like a different t-shirt on. The woman is more Elvira style in this.
Okay.
Like
dark aesthetic, like with a white makeup kind of, and
she already has a giant bazoombas, but has now squeezed them into the dorkiest. I mean, it's impossible to have a non-dorky corset, but a dorky ass corset. Okay. And she's sort of in black with black fingernail polish. They're goth, but there's also something I was looking on Wikipedia the other day called gothabilly, and that I don't know what that is.
Nowadays with the amount of people there are, it's like they'll just break off into everything, like.
Tex Pundit does have a something we should throw in here. He said, "I shaved my head and wear a pork pie hat."
Yeah, I was just gonna say there's got to be some hats that are acceptable in the rockabilly community, right? Like what are they, like the newsy cap or whatever?
The newsy cap for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's what you got to go with if you want to. I mean, listen though, there's something to be said for going for a full-on pompadour wig. I mean, honestly,
just tossing the wig on,
like and like extravagant. Don't you know what I mean? Like, don't even try to present it as real hair. Try to present it as this like that incredible piece of art. Almost.
That Russian band. Do you remember them from the 90s? There was like a Russian band that had pompadours. Wigs. I'll find it. I'll put it in the.
It's like Cool Keith did a thing where he wore like a pompadour wig for a period, and this guy goes, embrace it. There's no shame in going bald. I started shaving 12 years ago when my hair got too thin to style. Plenty of bald Billy brothers out there.
Okay, bald Billy. Hey, bald Billy's rise up. Bald Billy's rise up. I like it.
The Leningrad Cowboys. Here we go.
Great name.
Let me see. This was very much. All right. Will this just show up, or do I have to put a link? No,
You can
you just
present.
Yeah, you can actually share it with us. Yeah.
Do I share my screen?
Yeah, you just share like or the tab.
Yeah,
I can look them up and do it.
Okay, I don't know how to do that. I'm watching in the background. I'm watching old videos of the Big Bopper. So
very cool.
Here we go. Here's the Chris. You're gonna love this. I think we got some guys you're gonna love here.
Okay.
These are the Leningrad Cowboys.
Yes, there we go.
Oh wow. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So they're like they're big pompadours are like pointed super far forward. Like they really look like birds almost, kind of.
Yeah, of course. Very, very avian.
Very and so this is what I would do if I were in the cultures. I would throw on a really, but mine might even be a little more like it would have some flair on it, where it would have like little curled designs or whatever, so it would be like people would be talking about it.
There's a ton of different kinds of pompadours, Chris. There's the duck's ass pompadour. There's the there's I read a whole bunch of them. I can't remember any other ones but the duck's ass. But
this is just like a 50s or 40s or 50s hairstyle, right? It was like the really popular one then.
It's sort of like I would say like an idealized or even like glamorized or maximalist version of the 40s or 50s, because like no one had that in the 50s.
Yeah, no one had what the Leningrad Cowboys were sporting. You would be considered too eccentric in that time. You'd be probably killed in the 40s.
Yeah, they'd kill you as a witch, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess if you're a guy.
Anybody who's spent any time around a scene has run into this issue. How can you tell the difference between a poser greaser and a real one? Now, greasers are rockabillys. They are a different kind, I guess. I don't know what really makes somebody a greaser as compared to a rock.
Is it interchangeable? Maybe is it like it might just be another word
to me? Greaser. So a big part of rockabilly culture is the custom car culture. Are you familiar with Ratfink?
Yes.
So I would say Ratfink is like the totem of the rockabilly, and so of course Ratfink has his crazy custom cars. And the greaser to me speaks more to the vintage car aspect. All of these guys, this is just a way for like a guy to be into vintage stuff, by the way.
Yes.
Like that is really just like you see that a lot with subculture.
Do they have that same sort of like whiskey classic male sort of ideal? Like do they think of the world in that way, or do they just like the nostalgia of the stuff?
The nostalgia of the stuff.
I don't think it really feels like because most of them take great fucking pains to mention that they're also progressive. It's like styles from the past with progressive policy.
That's what I was kind of wondering. That's what I was kind of wondering.
Chris, I would say that while there is like a 10% of them, possibly higher, that are like basically Nazis, like the vast majority are what might be called like very, very liberal.
Okay.
Okay. Well, the answer to how to know if you're a poser, the first person says, slapping on a leather jacket and piling up a pompadour doesn't make you rockabilly, and neither does not wearing one. I think for people just getting into the scene, the question should simply be, what is rockabilly? It's firstly one of two things: an attitude or musical genre. I can't figure out which comes first, but attitude surely plays a part in the genre aspect. People who have been in the scene for a long time can tell you don't quite get what rockabilly is about, whether it's how you're suddenly dressing new, wearing white t-shirts, weird haircuts, or whatever. It becomes obvious you haven't earned your chops or paid your dues in the scene.
So that sort of answers a question. Facts. You can't just pull up one day saying I'm full rockabilly. you got to ease in. You got to start showing up at some of the events, maybe sponsoring some of the other members. I don't know exactly how it works, but you have to do some of the work first, and then you can slowly become a rockabilly.
I don't know how you pay your dues. That's a very odd thing.
Sometimes, I mean, I'm sure you cats know what this is like, though. Sometimes I'm at the car hop, right?
Oh yeah.
And of course, I'm talking to maybe Betty, Delilah.
You're having a malted. You're having a malted.
I'm having a malted. You know, I'm with, of course, Hunko and Borat, who are my two rockabilly male friends, and then Betty and Delilah, the two girls. And I'll see some hep cat kind of rock up in his jalopy, right?
Oh yeah.
And I can tell this jalopy is straight out of the junk pile. This guy has put no work on the Grease Monkey garage on this custom car.
This jalopy's barely running.
And I'm sitting there and I'm smoking my vintage cigarettes, right? And
they're vintage. They're not so good anymore.
Old.
They're not so good
yellow.
anymore. The tobacco's kind of gone.
It's falling out. Yeah, it's like it's really making me. There's a distinct chemical taste that is unlike the regular
harsh,
comforting. Yeah,
very
harsh in a way that a Chinese cigarette is.
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever smoked those, but those are rough. And a guy comes up and he's like, "Oh, hey, what's happening?" Hep Cat's like, "Oh, you greasing? You're jiving?" And I'm looking at this. I look at this guy. And I'm like, "I don't remember you.
I don't remember you from
the Big Bopper Buddy Holly vigils that we hold every year."
Yeah.
And I'll ask him. I'll be like, "Okay, maybe you know your stuff. Maybe you know your stuff. How old was Jerry Lee Lewis's cousin that he married?" And he'll be like, "Oh, I don't know, 15, 16,
13,
17. Wrong.
13.
Wrong. 13.
13. Everybody knows it was 13.
And then, of course, I show him my wrist where my lucky numbers are tattooed. And what is that lucky number? That's 13, right in a pair of flaming dice. They got tattooed on me.
Oh, no. That seems in poor taste, but still does show that you are a rockabilly.
It does show him a rockabilly. It's a lucky number. It's a lucky number because Jerry Lee Lewis, you know, listen, it's better to fade out than fade away.
Yeah,
it is. It is.
That's better to fade out than fade away.
He does mention that he does say he asks a few questions I thought that would be interesting. He goes, whatever that, it's clear you don't know much about the scene, and that's where people start assuming someone is a poser and why that poser is getting into rockabilly. Was it the fashion? Did you want to be seen as a tough guy? Are you a bruiser, a gearhead, or do you just love rockabilly music?
You gotta look out for bruisers. When bruisers try to infiltrate your fucking scene, and they're like, "No, I'm definitely one of you guys," and it turns out that they're a fucking bruiser, you are fucked if they get in and they start getting their bruiser friends in.
It sounds to me it's like the kind of enemies you'd face in a video game. Like, oh, there's a couple of bruisers over there, a gearhead, you know, as the boss or whatever. I will say this. I am, having spent most of my life in the punk subculture, although not being very precious about it. I don't care whatever anyone likes under any circumstances. I'm like always just like, I mean, obviously I judge people and think people are stupid, but I don't, it's silent. I don't, you know, or vocally, but
with your friends,
Yeah, exactly. I'll make fun of people like everybody does.
Yeah.
But whenever I see somebody that's like, this is a poser or whatever. I'm 33 years old. You know, I'm not like talking like that. But sometimes you meet a guy and you're like, you like shaved your head or whatever this year and like put a shoelace around your head and you're wearing this like you're like 30. Why are you doing this? And that's like really my only thing to like I have to be into punk or whatever because I got into that when I was a child. And it's like, that's like getting circumcised. Like, no, you're Jewish now. Like
why are you making a choice at this age in your life to like do this embarrassing thing?
Exactly.
Maybe, I guess maybe they were stupid. Maybe they were repressing it though. Do you know what I mean? For whatever reason, they were unable.
Repressed, bro.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's hotness. I really think that like a lot of these guys place quite a bit of emphasis on this is what hot guys.
Yes.
Because they're the only guys I've ever seen that have that kind of I mean, there are guys that are like handsome or whatever, but rockabilly guys feel like they're the like the hottest punks.
Well, Chris,
like you're just so sexy.
You're familiar with James Dean, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he was a hunk. He was a big time
total hunk, right? Like probably the Marilyn Monroe of guys.
Yeah, at that time, yeah.
And I think a lot of these guys, like, you ever see those memes that are like, how come men don't dress like this anymore? It's like the Peaky Blinders or whatever.
Yeah.
This is kind of the American version of like guys used to have dignity. Like they just wear their white t-shirt to the sock hop. And like James Dean is like the hottest guy of
And
that.
he died so early, so he never got to be all fucking fucked up at the end where
he
he's
died
like
in a hot rod too.
Yeah.
Died in a
Oh,
hot rod,
really?
too.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, they're all just like, this guy was the greatest guy ever. He probably wasn't, and
Yeah.
he probably would have. Who knows what would have happened? But yeah, they look up to him and that sort of great time in American history. I guess, as you said, it's mostly white men. It was a greater time for them.
Yeah.
Here's a question that you guys might be. Here's a question they asked this guy to prove he's not a poser, not a poster. He is a poster. He goes, "Do you change your own oil?" I know that's got nothing to do with music, and you don't have to be able to rebuild a small block Chevy or own a lead sled, but you should at least be able to find your fuse box. So
I see. So this guy's got a pretty concrete, quantifiable way to fucking like. He's like, if you can change your oil, yeah, maybe. If not, get out of here.
It's pointless too, right? Like that. I guess if you're driving these old cars, it's just pointless to learn how to work on old engines now because nobody's using those.
Well, sometimes, yeah. I mean, I've never driven a car before, but I feel like, do you have to change your own oil? Can't you get an oil change?
Oh yeah,
of course. To get an oil change.
Yeah,
change your own oil.
Of course you can. Yeah, no, you go to the. Yeah, you can get it done very easily and very quickly, and it's completely, you would need to do it if you were maybe out in the middle of nowhere, something like. But even then, like it would be more saying like, do you know how to do other things? Like if your car breaks down or whatever, that might be something that would actually help you in the modern world.
Yeah, a guy he does come back and say, I'm a British greaser or rocker, so I own a motorbike, not a car. So
is that cool?
Like you're a biker.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a biker.
You're kind of almost a biker, and a lot of bikers I know are bruisers, so I'm a little bit concerned with having you involved.
Well,
but biker is also something that a lot of punks do in retirement as well.
Oh yeah, because they can afford. Because that's the thing about a lot of this stuff too, is like the things that like the cars are so fucking expensive. Like crazy fucking expensive. They're like, I'm driving a 57 Chevy and it's completely restored. And like, it's like a $70,000 car.
And not only that, but like the upkeep on it, those types of like when things go wrong and stuff, it costs so much. I guess you're fixing it all yourself.
And you're
but even parts,
boys, it's all worth it when you take that Betty to make out point and you just you slip her
cherry red.
You slip her a Mickey and pop her cherry, daddy.
No, great.
That is very
guy. No.
Rebel Rouser Schnauzer, who identifies as a hound dog, said, he says automobiles and stuff are quite the tricky thing to get to know about. I can't think of anywhere to learn the basic stuff besides just going to an automotive college. Even then, not sure if they'd be teaching you how modern cars work as opposed to pure mechanics. Again, also not too sure if they teach you how to restore cars either. So, college is.
I mean, you could probably listen. It's not completely ideal, but you could probably learn on YouTube.
Yeah.
Probably YouTube videos where people are showing you. I don't know that it would I don't know how it would transfer. There's certain things where it's like you can watch somebody do it on a YouTube video, but still it's too, but I don't know. I feel like somebody could show you how to do it on YouTube.
Here's some welcoming stuff here. I think this will help us really identify with these guys. The guy says, anyway, I can get a better knowledge without having to surround myself with greasers. There aren't any greasers where I live. And the guy responds and he goes, you're doing so right now. The internet is the best place for people in your situation. There's just loads of stuff if you look in the right place. Firstly, I'd recommend listening to Rockabilly Radio.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. What is that?
I got it on from dusk till dawn.
Wait a second though. What is it? Is that just like in
I think this is a
general they're
radio
saying?
Yeah, it's like
Or
an
is it-
internet
or-
radio.
Guarantee that's an XM radio station.
Oh, it's like an actual. I see. It's like
Ro-
okay. That would make sense. They would have rock. I wonder what's being played on there.
Like
What do you
Jerry
mean you
Lee
wonder
Lewis,
what's being played on there?
Reverend
It's
Horton Heat,
rockabilly.
No, but what is rockabilly? I don't know. I
Chuck
don't know. What,
Berry, Reverend Horton Heat.
so it's like
Yeah.
music from just the 50s or whatever.
No,
Yeah, but there's stuff.
80s and 90s too.
Ray says no.
The Stray
It's
Cats.
not just it's not just the 50s. It's the 80s and the thing is, you got to understand, Chris.
Yeah.
Rockabilly didn't actually exist as such. Like the rockabilly guy didn't exist as such when rockabilly was like a real thing.
I see.
It was just rock and roll back then. But
Okay,
since
it was just normal music that was like popular.
in the 90s, they sort of, or the 80s, they sort of took this like beginning, like, I don't know, like 1952 ass rock and roll. And they're like, this is the only type part of this music that we like.
So,
Like-
can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I didn't even fully understand that there was like a total musical element to it until just now.
It's most of it. Brian Setzer of the
Mhm.
Stray Cats and the Brian Setzer Orchestra is like sort of a god to these people.
Yes.
Well, my
Drums,
barber,
knives, and wails.
I suppose I should have known that because my barber was. I don't want to say his name because he's like a fairly well known musician. Like he's the
the
front's
Rev-
like a fairly well known.
Is it the Reverend Horton Heat?
Probably
It's-
Reverend Horton Heat.
I did not
Reverend
get
Horton
my
Heat.
hair cut by Reverend
Reverend
Horton.
Is
Heat.
it Jerry Lee Lewis?
It's
I
so
do
funny.
I
I
do
went-
confessions. He's my reverend, but I think that you guys wouldn't know this, but you could look him up easily, and it feels unfair when I'm sort of like making fun of him or whatever. But yeah, he played in a band, and I guess they played rockabilly music. I'm guessing.
Can you put their name in the private chat here for us?
Oh yeah, I
So I
can.
can look it up.
Out loud.
I can.
I will
I'll
not
say
say it
this.
out loud, but I just want to know because I can
It's
assure
a good
you-
name. It's a good
Oh,
name.
I without even looking it up. This is my brother. This man is rockabilly. You had a cherry poppin' daddy
Yeah, no,
ripping
no.
those clippers, giving you
No.
a fade.
No doubt about it. Yeah, but great name, man. Sorry you can't hear it.
Oh my
everyone.
God, the picture.
Yeah, you're looking at him now. I'm sorry, everyone, that I
He's
can't say this
handsome.
feels
Oh, there we
mean.
go. The pork pie hat.
And
Um,
can I mention as well what thing I love about him is he's like 5'2". Like he's
Oh,
a little
yeah.
Well,
That's how tall people were back then.
He's really doing
That's vintage.
It.
Well,
He's
it's
really
funny.
living it.
I
That's
wanted
before they started pasteurizing the milk.
I wanted to tell this story because where I grew up in Groveport, Ohio, the last thing you would want to be considered, at least for me, was anything with Billy at the end, like
Yeah.
hillbilly or anything, because it was just like everybody was a redneck. So if you wanted to be, something different, then and most people did, most people didn't want to be a redneck at that time or like a hillbilly. So like you would run away from anything that had that connotation. And like I remember I was working at Kroger with this guy, and every day he would try to slip little rockabilly stuff to me. Like he was trying to like turn me rockabilly, and he was just like, he would give me like slang, like daddy-o and stuff like
Oh,
that. He would
yeah.
talk about how I should do my hair, and then he would invite me to go to Reverend Horton Heat concerts. And it was just like a really, I was being
Reverend
groomed
Horton
to
Heat,
be rockabilly.
That's the big guy. That's the big.
Well, the
musical
Stray
act.
Cats and Reverend Horton Heat were the two big ones. So when I was like 12 and just getting into punk, I went to the Tower Records in San Francisco and sort of just looked at like the alternative section and bought because I had no frame of reference for a lot of stuff. So I just bought a Reverend Horton Heat CD and I took it home and I was like, what is this? Like, this doesn't sound like I wanted to hear like Black Flag. I had
Yeah.
heard that. I was like, I want to hear like some cool music. And I'm like, this is just like bad
Can you
Chuck
play?
Berry.
Are
You wanna
you
hear a little bit of Reverend
Well,
Horton?
don't play too much. I don't want you to get in.
We won't get in trouble. It's going to be posted.
There weren't no DMCAs in the 1953.
Yeah, you could argue that with them, and you probably would win in the end. They would have to concede. They would have to be like, "You're right."
All right, here comes the Reverend.
Okay, the
we'll do
Reverend.
live on KEXP here.
Okay, this is Seattle, close to me.
Oh, it's a ton of desk we got here.
It's a Rockabilly freakout.
Oh, yeah, I hate it.
Rockabilly freakout.
Yeah, I hate it.
Oh, they always have the biggest hollow Gibsons you
Oh.
ever seen in your life.
Yeah, that's the kind of he's got one.
Is that what you expected?
My barber had a guitar like that. I don't
Oh, there is no doubt in my motherfucking mind that he did. He had, I'm telling you, as you guys know, most subcultures of this ilk are just ways for guys to play dress up and collect vintage things.
Yeah.
Really, like most hobbies of any kind are just about a way to collect something. And this is like a way to collect vintage cars, vintage guitars. It's kind of like, in a funny way, they kind of have the same taste as Jay Leno. Like they just like want like like Jay Leno is in his soul a rockabilly, even if not in his actual. Well,
yeah,
actually,
can't.
you know what? No, Jay Leno is rockabilly.
He has
kind of rockabilly.
Because he has a cowboy look, definitely, and that you know what I mean, like sort of. He has that denim. He likes the denim.
His face though is kind of rockabilly.
His hair gets close too. Like
his hair has gone close to being a pompadour. I feel like he's styled it that way sometimes at home. Like there's no photos.
I'm looking at a pompadour Jay Leno. When I Google Jay Leno,
is that it nowadays with AI?
By Rockabilly guys when this releases, we're gonna be put on the Rockabilly hit list.
I'm sorry. Are you kidding me? Every time there's a picture of like a celebrity and like who's wearing like a leather jacket they got styled in that has like an Av Scum patch or whatever on it. Like every punk moron I know posted like, this is funny. Like rockabilly people should be excited that Jay Leno. We've made a scientific discovery that Jay Leno is rockabilly.
Yeah, you have an actual like. Listen, he might not be loved nowadays, but he's still a beloved character from our past, and now he's like a legitimate guy, a real celebrity, and he is a confirmed rockabilly now.
Just like James Dean, he constantly gets into car crashes, near fatal.
Yeah, but they can never get him though.
They can never get him, but no, because he's a cherry popping daddy, dude. He's that term. That was a ska band, right? Did we talk about that? That was a swing revival band. Yeah, and here's the thing:
that's one of the worst names that I've ever heard. From
they changed it actually.
They did.
They changed it, right?
Yeah, I think they're called the Daddies now.
Yeah, nowadays I don't think you can even you can't even call yourself that anymore.
There are no cherries left to pop. There's no cherries left to pop. No, here's the thing though, and this is the real red pill on this. I'm about the red pill you like crazy. The swing revival and rockabilly, same thing. Same thing. Same guy.
Yeah.
Same leopard print, same big ass collar. Rockabilly's like little thing started in the 1980s. Swing revival, I think, did come in the 90s, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same guy.
Old. This guy, Reverend Horton Heat, he's old.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're just called the Daddies now. The Cherry Poppin' Daddies are just called the Daddies, which is kind of, they kind of lost. They could have been like Anthrax.
Why didn't they call them
their goddamn name? Because
why don't they call them? And also, they should have gone with the Cherries, or maybe it was already
the Daddies.
You know what I mean? Like Daddies is still gross, and it also like doesn't really like tell me like if you say Cherries, that for me reminds me more of their band.
Well, and here's some more on how to get into rockabilly. Second, you're going to want to bust a move and boogie down to a rockabilly festival.
So true.
Even if it's out of state, there's rockabilly events all over the world. Nearly every corner of America has one, as does the UK and Europe. Viva Las Vegas could be the biggest consideration. People from all around the world come to be a part of the scene and experience rockabilly. I think I'm going to go to Viva Las Vegas now.
Wait, yeah, Viva Las Vegas does seem like something that I might be interested in going to as well. I'm going to look it up.
Rockabilly trip we're going to be on.
I would say Las Vegas is both the Mecca and the Jerusalem of like aging, like NoFX style punk guys, like kind of just like weird 90s. Any guy, actually, you know what? Anything that was big in the 90s, like sort of their like spiritual home is Las Vegas. So all those guys end up there. I have firsthand, well, I guess technically secondhand accounts of Fat Mike from NoFX engaging in bacchanals, orgies, with groups of punk women and men at in Las Vegas in pools. I know that all those motherfucking rockabillys get down in there, and then they're all in the back seat. It's like where you go. It's like how the villages where all the old people go in Florida have like a new kind of STD. They're inventing new kinds of rockabilly STDs in Las Vegas constantly.
I'm
What about
looking it
this?
up.
Here's another rough question here.
Yeah.
Tips for maintaining a pompadour with really thick curly hair. Can't
Oh,
see-
you're rubbing it in our face.
Ooh.
Like, how do I deal with it? I have too much hair.
Perhaps we have a member of the tribe on our hands.
pomade, maybe? Like they love pomade.
They
There's-
love pomade.
Oh my god, they know all the brands: Suavecito, Murray's, Dapper Dan.
Oh yeah.
But they mostly like, and this is kind of funny because of the advertisement, got to be.
Got to
Ooh.
be.
Yeah, so-
Interesting.
You know that
I remember seeing that at Walgreens. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they're all into.
Yeah, it's not just that's like one of the real sort of brands that like mass produced ones, right? That's
We
everywhere.
got to be. Wow.
Nick Ferratu did say I have really wavy hair, so I have to use industrial strength hair goop to make it do what I want. It's a lifestyle choice that a lot of people hate because it can ruin pillowcases and towels. But I don't care. I also have to contend with hot ass Arizona sun that melts normal pomades easily. I tried a ton of different products before. I eventually found the right stuff, and now I use Murray's in the orange can to get the shape and height and finish it off with a spray of got to be glued hairspray. It's not for the casuals, but it does the trick for me.
He had a couple of really bad experiences there, eh? When he had the regular stuff in there and it melted down his face.
His
and
eyes, dude.
Oh my
And
god!
you know he's driving that motherfucking T Model 4 down the 2-lane blacktop, right?
Yeah.
Top speed of 35 miles an hour, and he's on his way to see his little Betty to pop her cherry like a true daddy. And he's got there.
Saying the cherry pop.
He's to mess it to the point of pain. His little fucking wiener feels like it's got one of them rocket atom bombs in it, and he's like, I gotta make it. But the hot Arizona sun, because his T Model 4 does not have air conditioning.
Of course not.
Hot Arizona sun is melting into his eyes. Bam, James Dean style.
Yeah.
Two-car collision kills.
Dead.
Family of 4.
He's fine. He's totally fine for whatever reason.
No, because his pompadour, he puts his head down. Normally, you would break your neck, but his pompadour is so buoyant due to the elasticity afforded it by his combination of the products he used, especially Got to Be hairspray. It functions as its own hair bag. He calls it in his blog post.
I'm wondering actually, like. I'm trying to think of another like guy subculture where product to put in your hair is such a part of it, because I really can't think unless we're talking about like punks with the mohawks, which they don't really exist anymore.
They don't talk about that. They don't talk about that so much.
And they use soap. That's the you just use like a hand bar of Dove soap is the thing.
So I'm trying to figure out if I can't think of anything else, because like you can go to any barbershop for men. I went to a place one time, the old-fashioned barbershop, to get the straight razor, like the one that comes out, like the old style one.
Oh, you were gonna slit your throat.
Well, I was trusting the guy to not do that, but he was a very rockabilly guy, and he cut my beard and shaved my head, and it felt really nice. And then for some reason he wasn't playing rockabilly music. He only played Red Hot Chili Peppers the whole time I was there.
Under the bridge.
And then as soon as he was done and he told me the price was $150, I was like, fuck me, man. I'm never doing this again.
See, that's the thing.
You gotta check that price.
When you get the straight razor, you gotta be like, hey daddy, I need you to shave my back with this. And so you get them to shave. That's the thing, is there's no greater feeling in this world than rocking up to one of these motherfucking rockabilly barbershops and being like, I just already coming pre-creamed, right? You're covered in the cream already.
You already
it's underneath
under your shirt.
You're covered in cream. No, shirt. whole body under the cream, and you're like, I want the toes to nose. I want you to give me everything. Line me up.
With a straight
Line
razor.
me up with the straight razor, daddy yo. Pop my cherry here. And they'll just go up and down here like a
Then
fireman
it's
on a
worth,
pole.
and your point being that it's at that point it becomes worth the $150. You've got your money's
Exactly.
worth. Then,
Here's a
yeah.
question I couldn't get a great answer for, but he said, "What do greasers wear in hot weather? As in, do shorts work? What kind? Also, what do they wear for swimming?" So I don't.
What do they wear for swimming?
Vintage big ass women's shorts.
Yeah, I mean they're just or like like maybe the banana hammock maybe.
Maybe the long shorts that are like kind of Hawaiian, like
Yeah,
Elvis would have
yeah,
worn.
you guys are right. I think they go with those ones, but
Like
yeah,
a
I mean,
Woody
I think when
Carl.
it gets hot, rockabilly guys revert to pop punk guys, and they probably wear cargo shorts and like a giant Demented Argo t-shirt.
Well,
So I
Cargo
keep saying
shorts.
Demented Argo t-shirt. It's just the worst band name I've ever heard.
Sauerkraut and Beans did respond and said, if you want to stay with the look, I'd recommend a t-shirt and jeans with some sneakers. But like others have said, just wear whatever makes you comfortable. Fuck the fashion police. And yes, we wear swimming trunks. So this guy, that's not enough of an answer. He goes, what kind of swimming trunks would you recommend go most with the style? None. They're swimming trunks.
Yeah, I would say this is. Remember
Wrong.
earlier we were talking about the posers. I think this person is showing themselves to be a poser. You know what I mean? Like,
here's what this person does not understand is yes, there are certain clothing items that are rockabilly, but there's also certain thematic elements to the graphics on clothing designs that make an item rockabilly in spirit, if not necessarily in style, or excuse me, in like actual fabric. That would be flame trunks. They would need flame trunks.
yeah, flame trunks with maybe a flaming 8-ball on them or something.
Yes.
Like that.
Oh, that's if you can get them.
Yeah, if
You
you can
can
get them,
find
those
some
are
like that.
those are in incredibly high demand and they
If
sell
you
out
can
right
get
away.
'em.
But if you
Yeah,
can't get
maybe
your hands,
eBay.
Here's a question that was asked. This really pisses them off. One thing that makes Rockabilly's incredibly angry is the movie Grease.
Oh yeah.
They really dislike the movie. They think it gives Rockabilly guys and greasers a bad name, and it's inaccurate. Actually, it's not an accurate representation of the Rockabilly greaser lifestyle. So there's a question on Quora that said, were the greasers anything like the greasers in Grease 1 and Grease 2? Now, we have this guy who I can't be Rockabilly. In most ways, yes. The film got the look and the basic feel just right. The devotion to cars, the talk about girls, and the non-conformity. My objection to Grease, by the way, the musical. My objection is that real greasers, called rocks in some regions, were often antisocial and not in a friendly or funny way. Many of them adopted the persona because they just did not fit in with the other kids. They promoted that image and the fact that most of their other mainstream kids feared them in a way. Now, I don't think people really ever feared greasers. I don't think there was ever a time.
I think you're thinking of a different type of person, and that is bruisers. And we're all very afraid of bruisers.
I'm afraid of bruisers.
Of course. I want nothing to do with them if they even have an inkling that you're a bruiser 20 feet away from you at all times. But yeah, that seems like I don't think they're toughies. Like,
have you guys seen The Warriors?
Yes.
I saw it I haven't seen it in a long time.
The guy who made The Warriors made another movie that's exactly identical to The Warriors called The Wanderers. And that is a rockabilly greaser version of The Warriors that's really good. But it features a game of bruisers called The Baldies. But it is like a full greaser. That is like, I'm sure on the Rockabilly subreddit, they're like, they like The Wanderers.
Oh, The Wanderers it's like a very critically acclaimed film.
And it's got Rockabilly's in it. So
this is not, I'm gonna watch this. I'm looking at one of the bruisers right now. This guy is intimidating. He is huge. Holy crap.
Here's a question. How do I act like a greaser? Let's get an answer to that.
That's tough.
I don't understand what exactly you're asking, but try acting more careless, but more protective over those you love and care about. Put family and close friends first and stay away from the uptight people and rich kids. Think more on getting by and less on what clothes to wear the next day. Wear more typical gang attire and don't be afraid to mess around.
Don't be
Mhm.
afraid to mess around. Yeah, that's probably the best piece of advice there. Don't be afraid to mess around if you want to be considered a rockabilly or a greaser.
Yeah. You gotta be fun. You gotta mess around. You gotta
You got a family first. I didn't know
That's
that
weird.
that
That
was a
doesn't make
big
any
thing. Like
Hey,
I didn't.
Faith, folk, and family, just like Chuck Berry taught us, right? That's the thing is, every guy, they're main guys, right? Like they're kind of twin towers of the rockabilly movement are Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis, of course, famously a, let's say, neuroatypical pedophile, and Chuck Berry. I don't know if you ever seen the video,
yes.
but
I love
Chuck Berry, exactly, not exactly a family friendly kind of guy, but
Yeah.
him. I mean, I as a child, I watched a video of him peeing and then farting on a lady. The farting is the funniest
the
part.
farting is the problem. I mean, peeing
Because he's just like. It's not like, I don't think the farting was part of the sexual congress that he was engaging in. I think the fart, and Chuck Berry just probably ate some beans earlier and had to let one rip.
The fart. Yeah, the fart.
I fucking love the idea of the fart being accidental, but
Yeah,
leave it in. Don't edit around
Don't
that.
cut it. Don't cut
He's
it.
got the
Well,
Bryan thing.
Brian, apparently there's a second part of that video that that has someone pooping in his mouth.
Right. So why don't rockabilly guys do the poop stuff? And we've talked about the poop stuff on the Lawn Guys episode where I talked about the video I saw of the guy getting poop in his mouth and he chewed it and it made me throw up. Yeah, it was bad. He had a little bit stuck on his
Stop
teeth.
it. It's the same. I didn't like it then.
Human or
It was a woman sitting on like a toilet without like the
Gotcha.
rest of it was just a toilet with a like hollow bottom and he was like laying there.
Oh, anyway, hollow body.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder, like, that seems like a real, like Chuck Berry is like a real rockabilly dude. You would think some of them would poop. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
but it's like when you're going for nostalgia, that's one of the beauties of nostalgia is you just get to like pick and choose the elements that you like and relive those. You don't have to take any of the nasty parts. You can forget about all the bad stuff. That's what makes it nice.
Well, this guy, Super Cruiser, does talk about how it's the punk retirement plan. He goes, Rockabilly is the punk retirement program. However, I guess I went right past that. I've always found vintage clothes to be more stylish. I grew up with old music playing. My dad had a vintage car in the garage. I built things with my grandfather. People label me as rockabilly or
people like this are so fucking epic and cool to me. Somebody who's like just kind of like stuff from a different time. I love when someone says they were born at a different time. It's fucking.
It is me too. I was born in the 1980s. Things were different then.
I was born in the wrong time, though. That's what I meant.
The wrong
time. That's what I meant. I was born in the wrong time. That I love when people say that. You know, I should have been born in the 30s.
I should have been born in like 1640.
Buddy,
you know what I mean? Honestly, I feel like I was just like,
with my skill set, if I was born at that time, I would have done very well.
Court Jew, dude. I would have been like in Denmark, whispering in some fucking Duke's ear, being like, "Yes, loan them the gold." Yes, Worm Tongue. Are you familiar with Worm Tongue from Lord of the Rings?
I'm imagining myself as in my current state being born there with all of the knowledge I have, sort of, you know, and like I would be so far advanced. I would do very well.
No, but think about this though. Think about this, because you'd be able to explain an iPhone to somebody, but how would you make one? So
I would have to make one, but still, just my general like views and stuff would be like, oh, they might be too much.
Yeah,
I might be killed immediately.
I would be like, I'm from the future, and we got to do something about this. Hitler guy is coming in like 400 years.
Yeah,
and we got to start getting ready.
So you would just be getting guys prepared
for Hitler.
I like it. I like the hey, you know, it's like if four generations of people had been prepping for Hitler,
Yeah.
He's never
We
gonna
could have taken him easy. The other
Yeah.
thing too is I would have also invented clean drinking water because I could probably have figured that out. I mean,
Oh.
we can't be shitting in the river anymore. That's like the one thing I probably could have told them. Like, we
You-
should
or,
not be
uh,
shitting the thing we drink from.
You
We
would
need
stop that
TV
right
too.
away.
I want a TV. Actually,
Yeah.
It would
Oh,
be nice.
yeah. Also, I would invent. I don't know. I would probably just tell them about Rockabilly. I'd be like, listen,
Yeah.
so we got to invent country music kind of or like folk music first, and then country music, and then blues and that kind of appear at the same time. And then from that, we get into rock and roll. And then for like 3 years, rock and roll was kind of this one type of rock and roll. In about 40 years after that, we got to kind of reinvent that, except with Chris Kattan.
And Dean, have you ever heard of a 1966 cherry red convertible Corvette? I mean, that's what we're talking about.
I mean, I'd be like, virginity is prized in this society, right? 1630 Denmark. So let me tell you the concept of a cherry popping.
No.
I'll say this. I will say this. There is a good movie to be made of a guy that learns time, that figures out how to do time travel, and then teaches the people in the past about rockabilly.
Yeah,
wait, that's literally Marty McFly does that.
It does.
Yeah, that's actually
He does it.
the movie. It has Chuck Berry in it and everything. I mean, that's wild. I would tell people about foods that they didn't realize they could eat yet. That's what I would be doing.
Well, you'd have to invent Mexico first.
No, I mean like like stuff like that's out in the, whether it be a type of plant or whatever, or a type of fruit or vegetable that they haven't figured out is okay to eat. Like that's what I would be doing.
Tiny little Mike Hale tomatoes, maybe.
No, that we got informed that those already exist. A lot of people sent them to me after that episode came out. I forget which episode it was, but lawn guys, where there are blueberry-sized cherry tomatoes, tiny little blueberry-sized ones that you could just eat, and I want to get a hold of them now. I want to eat them so badly.
Oh, you know what, dude? I would tell people about dinosaurs.
That'd be good too,
because they didn't know about those yet. But I would.
How would you prove it? Oh, you would go dig. You go to.
We got to start digging because
go to Alberta. Go to Alberta, Calgary area, Drumheller. It's called. That's where a lot of them are.
Yeah, we gotta start digging. Like I imagine this guy goes back in time. He's like, we got to start digging. We are going to find some bones.
Gigantic lizard type things were living here.
Well, I wouldn't tell them they were dinosaurs. I'd be like, they are dragons, and my ancestors killed them.
I see, and then you say, if you don't believe me, let's dig them up. I'll show you
dig them up exactly.
And you invent a '57 Chevy,
and then I'd be like, listen, let me tell you about Etsy.
Oh shit! Yeah, if you drop the Etsy bomb on them, like at that point they would be listening. The other stuff might go in
about Etsy, bro. That we don't need to go to India anymore. We can bypass all of the horrors of the next few centuries,
ma'am. Let me
Ma'am,
tell you about a website.
Ma'am, you know some of those old jewels that you got there in Buckingham Palace?
Yeah.
Perhaps if we resold them.
I mean, Etsy is like a haven for rockabilly. It is like one of the things when you search rockabilly is like Etsy page after Etsy page.
Oh, well, as Brace mentioned, that a lot of the time the wives in the relationship or just the women in the community run Etsy pages.
Yes. And it just is. So this guy does mention people label me as a rockabilly or greaser, but I just have a profound love of history and the style that comes with it. First of all, you don't love history if you're doing rockabilly. It's like not actually historically accurate what you're doing.
Yeah, you sound like Anthony Cumia talking about like I'm just interested in the history of it, like
yeah, but it's all Nazi stuff.
Yeah, it's all Nazi stuff. Like,
my demeanor and taste are dictated by that. I enjoy rockabilly, but it's not what dictates my life. Enjoying my cars, music from the 20s to the 50s. 20s? My craftsman home and my wife is what drives me and is all I know. So I did not know they listened to 20s music.
20s music that wasn't like classical music was really fucking weird.
Yeah.
Boogie Bugle Boy.
Yeah. The Boogie Bugle Boy from Company 3. Yeah.
That's That's actually the 40s.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
That is the 40s,
I'll
yeah.
go back and listen to for whatever. I won't explain exactly why, but I sometimes do go back and I'm trying to find music from a long time ago, and music from that era is just very strange. Like, it doesn't it's not like some music from historical times where you can sort of get a foothold. It's very weird music, very campy.
Very campy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like music was mostly until like the 50s, guys playing piano and then making really suggestive, like with body lyrics, and making really suggestive like things with their eyebrows. Like they'd be looking at you like
yeah, like you'd have to
like
see them to even understand that it was a suggestive thing because you had to see their
Exactly.
eyebrows moving.
yeah, like she's like, like she's eating roast beef and then like
Yeah.
looking at then looking at you.
Well,
Because you weren't allowed to make that many double entendres back then before the freedom of rock and roll granted that to you.
freedom of rock and roll
I'll
of
tell you what.
1920.
Nowadays there's certain. Isn't there a whole day for it now, Brian?
A whole rock and roll day?
No, double entendre day. Isn't that a
Pastafarian holiday?
That's a Pastafarian holiday that
no,
we
that makes
recently
sense.
learned about.
Okay, so this is our last greaser, and he was born a greaser. So it's good to leave the show on a greaser. He goes, I practically grew up on a tour bus, and I was always surrounded by motorcycles, leather jackets, and hollow body guitars. But I never realized it was different. For me, it was simply life.
I had nothing. To me, it was just that's what life was. Man. But so you grew up on tour, but so was their parents like quite famous musicians?
Who knows? Reverend Horton Heat, maybe.
Well, because like to be on a tour bus, to have an actual tour bus and be growing up on it.
Maybe she was married to Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yes, it could have. He goes, I also didn't notice when it was that I started wearing polos and listening to pop music. It makes me gag just to think about it. So this guy went through a non-rockabilly phase. Like he was rockabilly.
Sometimes you go through the fire to get to the ice.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to fight back against the man, and in this case, if the man is rockabilly, then it means listening to pop music and wearing a polo.
Yeah, he started wearing polos. He's like, "Fuck! How did these polos sneak into my
wardrobe? What the fuck? This shirt got a collar on it."
Yep. I was popular, and I had conformed to the in crowd. But later in high school, I decided on a whim to come to school with my hair greased. And when my then girlfriend told me it looked stupid, I was deeply offended, and we broke up the next day.
Fair enough. That's fair. Fair from both sides, I think.
Not all daddies pop cherries, dude.
I wore the pompadour every day after that. And I fully embraced my rockabilly roots. Musically, I'm still in transition as I haven't written anything outside of punk rock or gospel. P.S. I hate creeper shoes. They're not rockabilly. They're psychobilly. I find them wildly unattractive. The only thing from the punk emo goth scene I find acceptable for rockabilly are skinny jeans, as in the 50s greaser wore slim fit jeans, which was as tight as you could get at the time. I'd imagine they'd have preferred skinny even then. So that is
saying you can wear they would have liked to avoid. He's like making assumptions for them. Like they liked him so skinny. They didn't have skinny jeans then, but they would have wanted to wear them if they were available.
The creeper thing, I mean, he is right. Those are more psychobilly, but let me tell you, the lines they're blurred.
Yeah.
Blurred, which blurred lines. One of my, of course, favorite songs of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of rockabilly, actually, the last casino I went to, casinos, by the way, are very rockabilly. That's where most rockabillies don't actually use banks. They use casinos to sort of store their money there. Last time I went to a casino was at the Indian casino outside of LA, which I had a bad luck at that motherfucker. But the Blurred Lines guy was playing that night, and there was like, it was really it made me depressed for him.
Because he was a big star not that long ago.
But he also, people were kind of like, wait a minute, this song doesn't have the best message.
And I think it was stolen too. Well, it was like one of the main parts of it. Didn't he get in trouble for for a very famous song? I think from like Marvin Gaye or something like that.
No, I gotta tell you this. I gotta
Okay.
tell you this. They don't really sound alike.
They don't.
Like, they don't. I mean, I have no
I-
love for Robin Thicke or whatever.
I
but
agree.
they
There's
don't
some
really sound alike.
there's some weird thing that I don't understand as being like a non-musician that they always like bring up about it. Like there's certain things that are like, but yeah, oftentimes I'll hear those cases and I'm like, I don't hear it. Doesn't sound more similar than other
Yeah.
like songs sound similar. And nowadays you can't really judge something. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
think about where we're at in music. You know, it's trying to make something that doesn't take from something else is pretty fucking hard at this point.
Here's our last guy, Part-Time Ninja, which is not a rockabilly name. I don't like it.
Mhm.
I guess I've always had a bit of rock and roll in my life. My dad used to play a lot of Buddy Holly in the car, but I was more of a punk in my teens. A friend of mine introduced me to The Living End, whose first album was shouty punk with a rockabilly edge. The double bass was distinctive. I read that they were Stray Cats fans, so I discovered them, and then I was hooked and went further back, discovering Eddie and Wanda and the rest. I got some two-tone creepers and bought some 50 shirts, but it wasn't really daily. Then, about 2 years ago, I decided I had to try the haircut, and that was the turning point. Finding a barber who was into working with me meant I could get it just right. But now my hair is cut in such a way, short sides and really long front, kind of lopsided, that if I don't quiff it, it's all over the place. I don't know.
Yeah, we both said it wrong. You're right. Quaff.
But it says quiff, Q-U-I-F.
Okay.
So I'm Rockabilly Daily. As a guy, I'm lucky that even when I'm just throwing on t-shirt and jeans, if I just quiff the hair, roll up the sleeves, and turn up the jeans, I can just rock away. And that is our last Rockabilly guy story.
That's cool. So he's basically, the hair seems to be a big element of it, like, which makes sense.
Yeah.
If you got that big pompadour and you got some jeans and a t-shirt on, you're walking in, you're looking rockabilly, no matter what. Really,
rockabilly.
it doesn't matter what's on the t-shirt, really, or like, you know, you got that pompadour, you're okay. People balding rockabilly guys, they got a tough time, but there are things you can do. The newsy cap, and or you can really try to hold on. And I do like that, like where you're, you know, carefully each hair is going over top of the other one, like almost creating a braid on top of your head. And keep it going. But yeah, this guy, hey, listen, I don't think I like these guys that much, but I don't hate them.
They're not evil. They're just
not evil.
Dorks.
No,
Yeah.
They're kind of dorks, but they think they're like, there's something like really unsatisfying about them in that they are dorks, but they will never know they're dorks.
Yes. Yeah. Like you can't, if you hold up a mirror to them, they'll just take out a switchblade comb and start fucking start pumping that pump.
Yeah, that's kind of powerful. The fact that they're just like, they think they're so hot in that look, and like, hey, it seems to work. They find somebody else who finds that look hot as well, and so it's like they kind of are hot in their own little way. You know, they're dorks to us, but they have like an incredibly hot, and the aesthetic is like well manicured. It's like, it's very well presented. You know what I mean? They're putting some effort into presenting themselves in a way, and it's working in some ways.
I think I mean, look, the whole world is now more in a like everybody's in their own little group.
Yeah.
So Rockabilly are just one of those little groups that they all meet up once a month at some Rockabilly festival, and they do their things. I did find a guy that I'm still, you know, maybe he'll be on the stream. His name's Cryptic Art. That's KRYPTIK.
Sick.
Art. And he is a greaser. And I wanted to play him on the show, but I also was worried that he's goofing. It's such a weird subculture that it's like, I don't even know if these guys are fucking serious about what they're doing. You know, it's like very hard to tell if they're making fun of greasers and acting like one, or are greasers, because like,
it definitely is like the sort of LARP thing where it's like they know it's kind of silly, but they're still pretending to be in the 1950s.
Yeah.
Just the last thing, Viva Las Vegas. I looked it up. The Rockabilly weekend. It has Red Hot Vegas. It has the High Roller ticket, Classic ticket. It has a bowling tournament.
Of course, that's
That's
a different kind of guy.
That's gotta be
Okay.
yeah.
And then also a hot rodder ticket, which
Oh
is
yeah.
the hot rod show, I'm guessing, where they're showing off all their hot rods. And then they have non-legal weddings and commitment ceremonies and legal weddings as part of the actual
And
event.
you know who's officiating that.
Oh,
That's goddamn Elvis Presley is doing it.
Well, Brace, it's always fun to talk to you. It's been a long time. So
I know. I love to be back.
I know. It's
I know
great.
about all kinds of guys.
Yeah, we got to do some shit. Me and Brace will do stuff again.
I would love that.
And Chris, not even a show. And the CJS on Twitter, Brace is from True Anon podcast, which I'm sure you already know about. True Anon, and we will see you next week with Halloween, guys, because it is Halloween when the next episode comes out. So that's it. We'll see you all on the next run. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.